Do you think the top six is wrapped up? Do you think it will be that top six?
Oh, yes, but not because I think it's like overwhelmingly wrapped up. Rob, after a couple of weeks off, we mentioned it at the top there. Pro Day Dirt is back with us. We've got some live Thursday rugby. Provence Colomiers,
Yeah,
which is, I mean, that's an absolute beauty. Second be third,
yeah, that's a
if I'm not mistaken. Um, do we? What do we want to do? Do we want to set the scene? Obviously, perhaps if you've joined us for the first time after the Six Nations, yeah, you'll maybe be surprised, or perhaps less surprised to hear that we are very big Pro Day Dirt fans. Um, yeah, where do you go from there?
it's
It's
back. It's
brilliant.
back.
It's back.
Yeah, it's three whole weekends or 3 whole weeks by the time it kind of rolls around, which is I think the longest break that they get, isn't it? We are 23 rounds in, so that is a whole Premiership whole Prem campaign plus 5 extra games, and we've still got 7 rounds to go. Um, and similar format to the top 14, but with 16 teams. But the top six go into the barrage. The barrage being effectively a quarter final, third versus sixth, fourth versus fifth. They play at the home grounds of the third and fourth, and then they go into a semi-final, which is hosted at the home grounds of the first and second place sides, which is different to the top 14, which are the semis are played at a neutral venue. And then the final is played the following week between the winners of those two semi-finals at Stade Ernest Vallon in Toulouse. That's a kind of relatively new thing that they've started doing, is doing the Pro Day Deux final on a neutral venue, and seems to be they've got it working with Toulouse. At the bottom, 16th goes down automatically, and 15th goes into an access match against the Nationale runner-up. So Nationale has a barrage system and a final. The loser of that final will be the team that hosts the access match. Have I missed something out in terms of the overall format?
Beautifully explained. Maybe just did we mention the access match to the top 14?
Yes. So the loser. So it's not you can win the league and you can still be booted out in the semi-finals. It's the loser of the Pro Day final. So last year, for example, Montauban beat Grenoble at Stade Vallon to win Pro Day to be national champions of France. Pro Day as it kind of gets called. They get a shield and everything. And then Grenoble, the week after, had to pick themselves up to host Perpignan in the access match with a shot at the top 14 and lost for the third year in a row.
Yeah,
to Perpignan,
which is remarkable.
No, one of those was against Montpellier.
Oh, it was the year before, wasn't
Yeah,
it?
a couple of years ago.
Late Louis Carbonell penalty from memory.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, Rob beautifully explained. The state of play is, I guess we kind of did a rundown of the top 14 last week. It's not entirely dissimilar, right? In terms of, well, certainly at the top in terms of how the table's kind of chunked up. So Van, who came down from the top 14 last year, are well, even more imperious than Toulouse have been in the top 14. They are they are top by 17 points
Yeah.
from the kind of next two chasers, which are Colomiers and Provence, who play each other this Thursday, hence why it is such a beautifully poised game. And then making up the rest of the barrage spots where it's looking a little bit tighter are Oyonnax, Valence Roman, who have arguably been the sort of surprise package this year. They're having their best season ever in Pro Day Deux. And Brive, who any new listeners will probably be familiar with, the home of Courtney Laws and big European powerhouse of yesteryear,
John
um,
Cooney,
John
David
Cooney,
Shilcock.
all sorts going on. And outside of that, the biggest challenger is Argennes, who again are a little bit resurgent this season. They're 2 points behind Brive. Rob, then fair to say you've kind of got like a what would you call it? little group where the barrage is like in a remote, very
Yeah,
remote now
yeah.
possibility.
In Aurillac, Grenoble, and Soy-en-Galem. I'd cap that there. So Soy-en-Galem are in 10th, having had a brilliant season last year. Grenoble, having had a shot at the top 14 3 years in a row, are struggling still with a outside shot at the barrage. And then I'd say from 11th downwards, being Nevers, I think that is the relegation battle.
Yeah, completely. And
And
where,
it wouldn't be if it were not for the fact that Nevers have haven't won a game in their last 8. And they've got one draw in that period, but they have also lost their last 5. So if they were trending upwards, I would say they're not in the relegation battle. But I would say because they are very much trending downwards, they are in that relegation battle.
yeah, and where in the top 14, as unfortunately Montemar is, it's kind of a foregone conclusion, and it's almost certain as well. Perpignan will be in that aforementioned access match yet again. In Pro D2, there are, well, as we say there, we've got 6 teams with 10 points between them, plenty of whom play one another in the next few weeks. Regardless of Carcassonne's position in 16th, bottom of the table, they're 5 behind. You've then got 5 teams within 5 points of one another. Dax, unfortunately, anyone looking at the table for the first time, they've won more games than most, but have on the receiving end of 14 points, was it? Deduction?
Yeah, so I should say Nevers are in 11th on 40. Biarritz are on 39, but should be on 44, were it not for deductions. Béziers are on 38. They should be on 40, were it not for deductions. So they would both be ahead of Nevers if points were just points. Mont-de-Marsan, they are a rare team in the bottom 5 that doesn't have any points deductions. Dax with a hefty minus 14, without which they would be in 9th or 10th. But they are 15th, second bottom, and then Carcassonne have not had any financial penalties put on them. But yeah, 3 teams in that bottom relegation battle. Dax are kind of more obviously sucked into it by that points deduction, whereas Biarritz and Béziers, I would say, would be there regardless, pretty much. I think Biarritz might be a little bit safer, but they'd be there regardless of those penalties.
Yeah. So, in short, absolutely loads to play for across pretty much the entire league, regardless of what will happen come the very end. There's a huge amount on the line every week from here on in, which is exactly how we want Pro Leader to be. Rob, so we kind of move into this last block of 7 that takes us to a scarcely believable 30 matches before you have the small matter of the playoffs. Anything you want to see? Any big brash calls you want to make?
Well,
Or you're
I
just
haven't actually,
excited for it coming back?
I've not actually looked at your table. So we have done predictions, and we did it last week. We fired up the lazy assumption generator, the Rosbeef's AI, John Baptiste Grok, and it doesn't change much. Grenoble go up a little bit. Mont-de-Marsan slide into the relegation zone based on the kind of lazy assumption generator. Now, depending on your viewpoint, you could say that the lazy assumption generator, where basically there's all home teams win, so you don't lose, you win all your home games. From this point in, some skeptics might say that is what will happen anyway, because this is Pro D2 and home teams always win at home in Pro D2 and etc. etc. But there is also the fact that in Pro D2 there is a seemingly never-ending scope for just the most bizarre, shocking results to come out of nowhere. So although it could be, you could have Pro D2 down as like a really predictable league from this point in, you just know it's not. Like, it's just not going to happen the way you might expect it. The amount of times that we have eyed up a round of fixtures and thought that looks pretty uneventful, and it's just you just know that there is a shock going to come, and it's always the one like it's never like the most obvious away win or like yeah I could see that happening as a bit of a shock. It's always like didn't see that coming at all sort of thing. A little bit like the top 14 was this weekend, where some of the results I just did not see coming. Maybe we just don't know. Maybe we should just give it up, Richard. Maybe we're trying to offer people a service here of kind of giving an
Fine by me.
insight into French rugby, but we're guessing as much as the rest of everyone, basically. But yeah, so the lazy assumption generator could be very, very accurate because it could be that all home teams win, and there's the odd away bonus point away from home from strong teams going to weak teams, etc. In which case, there's not much movement, and it's not great news for Mont-de-Marsan in that case. What this doesn't assume, with this lazy assumption generator, there is no kind of, it hasn't factored in the fact that Dax in theory should be 11th. So there might be a few that it's assuming they do worse than they are because of their current lowly position. So on that basis, I actually think Dax will do better, will outdo the kind of basic assumption. I've actually got Dax finishing 11th because I think they're just a stronger team than the other teams down the bottom there. I think Nevers could really struggle, but I think they've just about got enough points from the first half of the season where they were unbeaten at home and they were actually. They still haven't got any points on the road, have they? They still haven't got a win away from home.
No.
If they've got any points, they've got 1 point. Béziers have 0. And I think the fact that they are so bad away from home, those two teams, means that they could get sucked in. But I think they're just generally their home form is better than the others. They are more consistent at home, despite the fact that Nevers have kind of plummeted. I've gone for Béziers rising up a little bit because I think there's enough quality in that squad still. Biarritz are the team that I would be worried about, but I think again they've just got enough points in the tank just to outdo Mont-de-Marsan, and Mont-de-Marsan's away form is so bad. And I think Carcassonne unfortunately just have a little bit too much ground to make up. That whole 5 points is, covers 11th to 15th, but then there's another 5 down to them in 16th. You've gone slightly different, Richard. Talk me through.
Don't even know what I put.
Béziers 14th.
I put this this afternoon. I just think their away form's been dreadful.
Pants.
Like fully abject for quite a good
point.
side. Yeah, that's pretty much the basis of it, which I think I had Nevers not getting fully scrapped into it, which by the same logic they probably should do, but I'm guessing it won't happen to both, and maybe they have shown a tiny bit more points and maybe have a slightly deeper squad. Yeah, can't recall what else I put. I don't think there was anything too wild within there.
You had Dax finishing 13th, and we both had Mont-de-Marsan 15th, Carcassonne 16th.
Yeah, I think I agree with Carcassonne. Unfortunately, maybe a little bit too much ground to make up.
Yeah. And we've both gone for the same top 6. You've got Colomiers slipping down into 3rd, and that's the only difference we've got from the current setup.
Yeah.
I've got Colomiers finishing 2nd because A, their away form is very good. B, they've got fantastic home games. They've got like Carcassonne, Mont-de-Marsan. They've got all the crap teams at home. They do go away to Provence this week, and they go away to Valence Romans. They've also got Biarritz away, which feels winnable. I think in another season, you'd be like, well, they've got Provence away, they've got Valence Romans away, they've got Grenoble away. That's tough. But I think because they're generally doing quite well away from home, and they've had a lot of that. Like I think they'll start to pick up wins because of the conditions will suit them a bit more, and they'll be able to get away with the lighter weight side and playing with a bit more pace. I think they'll keep that form. Like they hit some really good form back end of last season.
They did.
But
Yeah, they
my
did.
kind of but that was purely from looking at the fixtures. I think my hunch was that Provence would probably, like, if I was doing it purely on gun to the head, I've got a blindfold on, I'd probably go Provence because I think they are the premier team of the two. I think like they're a top 14 team in waiting, and Colomiers feel like a bit of a development team still. That's a
Yeah,
really harsh way of putting that, but you know what I mean. Like they're good academy and they're kind of good cohesion. They're a unit, whereas Provence feel like a team that's ready to step up to
that's
top
been
14.
deliberately building for the
Yeah.
top 14, right? I think that's probably the key difference.
Whereas I think Colombia are there just to be a good club and have a nice time and entertain some fans.
And bring through some of the amazing Toulouse youth as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, quite. Um, I mean, one thing we've got in here, Rob, I hadn't realised how tight it might be. Is there a chance Van could beat the league record for points?
I hadn't quite realised that there was. I was expecting like no team to have ever got over 100 points, but actually it happened. It's happened loads. There are kind of a few seasons. The data on the top 14 website only goes back to 2008, 2009 when Racing were the winners. Shows how far back it goes.
Wow.
But Oyonnax got to 111 twice in 2022, 23, and in 2012, 2013, which would have been under Christophe Urios, right? I think.
Sounds about right.
But Lyon have got to 117 points with 25 wins out of 30, both times
Wow.
in 2015-16 and in 13-14. I
They think they're
the
going to make that up.
lazy assumption, which is probably a fair way of doing it, because they probably will get 5 points at home every time, and will that gets them to 112. I think that's probably about where they'll end up. They might get one extra win, and I think they might get to like 115, 116. But I think they've got to win 6 out of the last 7 to get to 25 wins, which I think is.
It's
I
a
think
lot,
that's a.
particularly when
I
you're
hadn't quite realised
so,
25. They have got that draw, but so maybe they
particularly
get
when
away with
you're
24. But
particularly when you're so far clear as well, and
yeah,
therefore can rest and rotate, and yeah, maybe take one eye off ever so slightly. Um, yeah, God, that's a hell of a haul, isn't it? 117 from Leon.
yeah. To have done it twice as well. They didn't even like. They must have got close in that one of the
Yeah,
years, or like the second year, to kind of overtaking it. Yeah, in my head again, if I without looking at any stats, I would have been like, "Oh, they must be. No team has surely ever been this good because they've only lost 3 games so far." But yeah, they are too good for this league currently. The bigger question is, can you see a world in which they don't go up?
I can to the extent that well, we saw it last year. Anyone can lose that final. There's no home advantage. You know, yes, but I feel like they would also be in the an even better position to beat what will almost certainly be Perpignan at home than than Grenoble have been in recent years. I think we looked at it at the start of the season and felt that perhaps it was a slightly stronger team than that was in the top 14 last
Yeah,
year, both in terms of kind of headline and depth of squad. So yes, I can, but I kind of hope not. I feel like you have a season like that, you fully deserve it, and it's an amazing club. Um, but I think who's going to beat them? I
I,
guess like a Provence could do
Provence
them
could beat them. Provence could beat them in a final.
in a
I guess
shootout.
there is a world that if they find some form back into the season, which they have done a couple of times, even though I still think they're crap. But Brive could. They show no evidence really of like on their day. We don't see their day that often, but there is enough quality and bulk in that Brive squad
Hmm.
that on their day they could beat them. But I just think they'll go into it with so much confidence and cohesion it'll be interesting to see if they were to lose a semi. Sorry, they were to lose a final. You seem quite confident. I mean, we were at that game last year where they threw away that lead at
Mm.
Perpignan in a kind of bit of a relegation 6-pointer. I think you're right. Actually, they probably would beat Perpignan in even an access match. So yeah, get your absolutely don't get your bets on Van getting promoted because we've said it with such confidence that almost certainly now won't happen.
Yeah. Yeah. Should we have a little look ahead to the
I
round of
anything
fixtures?
else from the season. I think Provence could go up.
You think it could be two?
I think it could be two.
Yeah. Be
I'd
a
love
lot
to
of
see
fun.
Provence v Perpignan would be a fun game.
Yes.
And I think if it is Mont-de-Marsan, Béziers, Biarritz, I think those teams should. I think Mont-de-Marsan would win a. I feel like the sort of team that would just turn it on for a. They're so unpredictable and they can pull extraordinary performances out the bag. I think they would win a Pro de access match. I could see Biarritz losing one, but I bet like Béziers aren't going to lose an access match. If Béziers end up in an access match, if Samuel Marquez is fit, they're not losing.
Yeah, I think the gap is, as we've
It's
seen
so
the last
big.
couple of years, is quite big.
The only way that would be if someone can stun, if Nice don't win,
Nice, yeah,
and then Nice rock up with like Naithalevu and like
yeah.
Rouet and
Owen
Owen Williams
Williams and
and
these guys.
like yeah,
Yeah.
Nice could do Biarritz. I think if it got to that.
We will see. We've
Nissa,
got a few
sorry.
weeks. It's Nissa rugby.
Is that?
Um,
Do you think? Sorry, the other one. Do you think the top six is wrapped up? Do you think it will be that top six?
uh, oh, yes, but not because I think it's like overwhelmingly wrapped up. I think Valence have got enough of the big home games against the rest of the top. A couple of wins there probably is enough. Um, they play Oyonnax this weekend, don't they? And like it almost becomes like a bit of a 10 pointer. Yeah, can Argen breach it?
I
2 points behind. I think what we quite often see, right, is it's that like sharpening of minds and squads towards the end of the season, isn't it? So you mentioned Brive, like they waltzed past Colomiers a few weeks ago, having been pretty abject all season. I think when rotation isn't an option and there's so much on the line, you back the deepest and most powerful squads and the teams that are already there and done it. So I think they probably will just hold off them and Valence from Argen. I think Oyonnax will be good. Um, so yeah, after all
I'm
that winding, I think I'm
yeah.
saying yes.
I'm not sure I can see Argen getting 3 more points from the last 7 games than Brive. I think they could match them, but I don't think they'll do well to outdo Brive, let alone Valence Romans. And I think now, and look on that basis, I think Grenoble have just got too much ground to make up. I think Grenoble would need to win 6 of the 7 games, and I think they win 5 at most.
Yeah, and a few things
As good as
probably
they
to
are,
go their
as good as
way.
they should be. Yeah, they need some stuff to go their way. They've got some pretty tough fixtures in there as well. Albeit at home, they've got Valence Romans, Oyo, Colomiers. Um, their away games. Thing is, like last year's Grenoble, you'd say Dax away, Carcassonne away, Aurillac away. Like they're winning those, and I just don't have that confidence this year with Grenoble.
Yeah,
Um, unfortunately for
yeah,
them.
I think that's probably fair. Um, cool. This weekend or the end of this week, Thursday, Friday. Mentioned a couple of them there. Valence Roman, Oyonnax, which is fifth v fourth, which should be pretty good fun.
These are the games I was going to try and go to, isn't it? Provence hosting
Yes,
Colomiers and then Valence hosting Oyonnax, which was going to
yeah,
be a lot of train travel, but short journeys, shortish, not too much. But yeah,
good fun. Provence Colomiers, we kind of opened this whole section talking by mentioning that. Um, yeah, should be a lot of fun. We'll be live on FRUK, I believe,
On
hope
YouTube.
on
Yeah,
YouTube on
yeah, yeah.
Thursday. Um, some decent, few
Live and
decent
free in the UK
individuals
and Ireland.
knocking around as well. You've got a little list here of a couple of head-to-heads, Rob.
Well, I just think Ray Nu. If you're new to Pro de Deux, two of the best players from the last couple of years have been Ray Nu and Inga Finau, the corresponding 12s. Inga Finau has been amazing for the last few years and can do everything. They are both, well, they can both do everything, and they are both so physical. If we see those two line up against each other in field, we could see some amazing stuff. Also, two of the best probably the two best fly halves in the league, Caleb
Uh,
Muntz and Valentin Delpy.
yeah,
Lafarge
maybe.
would have a say, wouldn't he? But
Yeah,
Muntz is the best fly half in the league because he plays for Fiji and he's a proper international rugby player. But
and
Delpy
Delpy
is
will be the
the
best fly half in
the
France at some
world.
point.
Yeah, he's the best goal kicker in the league, or is he? I think it might be Johnny McPhillips actually, statistically.
Ah,
But yeah, and then Caleb Timu is the other big name in that back row or in that Colomiers side in terms of the bulk. I think Provence I've kind of got Timu versus whoever Provence pick in that back row because it could be Tuasui, it could be. I think Harrison might be injured, but Jalagonia, the Georgian, is fantastic as well. They've got some proper units. I kind of keep forgetting how good how good their tight five is. Like Thomas Francis, Sebastian Taufifenua, Roman Laterad,
got
Isaac
so many
Ronner.
options as
They've just
well.
got genuinely good players there. Yeah, it's the fact they've got so many tier one international players. Well, I know Muntz isn't Fiji. People don't count that, but Fiji, a top table team, aren't they? Wales. You've got a couple of Australians in there. Yeah,
Yeah, proper stuff. And I suppose the other key call out, other end of the table,
huge game.
is massive. Arguably the most consequential of the round is Carcassonne against Mont de Marsan. Um, yeah, feels well, it's just huge. We've just given the various travails of those two sides this year. It's for Carcassonne in particular, right? As a home game, that is not optional to win that, you would think.
That's a little bit do or die, isn't it? Really,
Yeah, even with
almost.
6 games, it's
Yeah,
close to it.
they've got to do something. If they lose it, they've got to do something extraordinary to not finish 16th, let alone not finish 15th.
Yeah.
God, they've got some horrible fixtures as well. Yeah, that's comfortably their most winnable
I'm
game.
expecting a very suspect AI vid like they peeled off last time.
Oh well, I might
With
have
the
something for you about that in the petty fours.
ah, okay. Well,
I haven't
anything
quite worked out
else?
what it is yet, but yeah,
Anything else you wanted to mention before we get there? My interest has been piqued.
no, I don't think so. Other than can't wait for it to be back. It's good. I looking at those table predictions earlier, just summarizing or trying to surmise how tight the league is and how trying to work out who's going to go down is so hard. It's a real bun fight at the bottom.
Whets the appetite.
Yeah.
Right. Enjoy it. Thursday night should be a cracker.